This is a slight flashback. We're actually flashing back to Gav, who is far across the city, the only one who's terribly comfortable at the moment going into the merchants district. Uh, and at Upman's Coat, which now has you have come to note on your way in like 6 bulls outside of it, and has become like the favored home of like the local stray cat population. Um,
Gav stops to pet one on his way in.
Yeah, there's like a cat avalanche. Like the moment you pet one, there are like 4 others like, excuse the fuck out of me, you know, so, that are just there insisting on pets. Although you do notice that like a few of them kind of like take a sniff at like the metal hand and you're just like, I'm out.
Yeah, just wait. If I do this on your head, it is very good.
um, but you know, like some of the it actually even kind of like the slightest bit like that does seem to like scare them off a bit. Whereas the others just seem to be like, this hand smells vaguely like rat, and seem to appreciate that. Um, and there's like a bit of a squeak from the doorway as you know Mr. Upman starts to come out and like sees Gav there like in the doorway. And it takes him a second to kind of like recognize him, and he kind of like, Mr. Green, yes?
Gav is fine. Are you busy today?
I do have a number of commissions coming up, he says, but I'm perpetually busy.
I was wondering if you could do me a favor. There is big party tonight, and my friends want me to go. My mentor is also going to be there, but I am from finer herd. I do not have such lavish coats.
He
I
says,
am
I
willing to
understand.
pay. I still have some money.
He kind of, uh, he says, did the matter that everybody was here last time, if you would let me know what happened, I would
Blair
be happy
doesn't
to
quite
take that.
remember.
So y'all were there basically to interrogate him about the coat and that had like the letter in it and stuff like that, and whether it was delivered, you know, like you were it came out with like a cryptographic cipher, and he had the letter, like he took the letter from you that was meant for Benoit's family.
Okay. Yeah, because I apologize. I really don't remember. I've had a lot on my mind lately.
No,
Um,
that's completely good. We don't actually have to play it out if
yeah, no,
it's
Gav
just
just
kind of
lets
like,
sort of fills him in on what is appropriate for him to know.
yeah. And he kind of like he goes through a few of his coats and he kind of like, I don't have anything in your size at the moment. But
That
let
is
me
not a
make a
surprise.
stop. And you know, like, there's like a little walk through like the downtown area, and he or to through the, like the merchants quarter, and he stops at another shop that looks like it's like mostly military surplus. Like they've you know bought old army uniforms and stuff like that, and so he takes like he does there manage to find like a coat that will fit Gav. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when they go back to his shop, he begins to like do the tailoring, kind of removing a lot of like the epaulets and everything that would, but it still has that same kind of vibe, which is like actually fashion in most of Eisen because it's such a militant culture.
Yeah.
um, you know, like if you show up wearing something that has hints of military coats and overcoats and stuff like that, like you're fine almost anywhere. Um, and he kind of he fully has like a step stool that he's working on to like get up to like Gav's shoulders and stuff.
Yeah. Gav's almost 7 feet tall, so I mean that's totally understandable.
um, and he works very quickly. You know what I'm saying? He gets his measurements and everything like that, and then he kind of heads, or and then he like steps down, takes it down, and like starts to work. As you're kind of like catching him up and everything. He says, I would like you to know that Benoit's widow is going to be well taken care of. The letter arrived, and I understand that that she has taken it well.
That is good.
So, um, he says, "Are you headed to Mr. Earhart's party tonight?"
No, Gertrude of the Drachenmist.
He says,
She
"Oh,
owns several houses there, and my friends are. I am told it is like mixer, kind
he
of
says that the woman has a remarkable ability to bring people together."
a a
Um,
friend of mine is also showing some of his work, so I'm there to support him.
he kind of takes his needle and he gestures to a painting on the wall. And he says, Miss Gertrude gifted that to me. He says she was in here once seeing if I had the time to make a coat for a friend of hers. I didn't. And then this gift wound up in my home regardless, he says, and suddenly I could find the time. He says, I know that was likely not her intent because the note that was with it was lovely and just that it seemed that I had a veritable lack of art in my home.
Do I recognize the style?
It's not Orwell's, but you recognize that the art style is probably one of the people that like was just struggling to like make ends meet and like paid for their rent with a painting.
With a painting, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's still like it's relatively novice, but like even having it up on a wall in a place like Upman's, who's is some exposure at least. So it's interesting the way she's kind of like she's serving many ends at once.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? She's letting the person who's living in her place like stay for an extra month because they could do something for her. She's getting a favor for somebody else and improving
But
her reputation at the same time. And like you can't even tell if it's like a conscious manipulation or if it's just sort of the way she is. Like I can do this nice thing for someone, which will get me to be able to do something nice for someone else. To does that make sense?
100%. I can kind of imagine this woman already. She never stops moving. And like,
He says, if you, I would be delighted if you could bring a gift for me to her.
I can definitely do that.
Yeah, and he takes down like a little thing that you can tell is just like perfect for a scarf and kind of like wraps it around a hand. And he says, please offer her uh, my eternal appreciation.
So business has been good.
Business has been busy. He says, not all of it good. He kind of like pats her. It's like no trouble from anyone. Just
That is good to hear. He's like, thank you very much for the coat. I don't know how I could repay you other than to
um,
give this to Gertrude.
he says it was a few minutes time. He says, and I'm happy to hear some resolution on everything that happened. And he kind of like pats his shoulder. So this coat doesn't have any of the kind of like perks that Hans's does. Does that make sense? But it is.
Oh yeah.
But you will. I'm going to be asking for a fashion roll from everyone later on. It will give you a free raise on that.
Okay. Because that's gonna be his only fashion.
His nice thing that he owns.
Is his one nice thing, and then his one kind of nice thing that he also wears, which was just a costume
And you see him like just as you're about to leave, you see a young woman come in. Um, she looks to be of like Eisen parentage, but you see her kind of like come in. She doesn't say anything. She just kind of like she looks a little expectant, and Upman kind of reaches under her counter and he gets like it's a whole box of like more socks. Which I think this is actually the first time that like Gav has seen it and has known about like the puppet show in the children's district
Mm.
forever with the way that he is with kids and stuff like that. And so like this whole like box full of like woven and very colorful socks that are probably too colorful for most people in Eisen to like wear on their feet because of
Yeah.
sort of general there's a very like conservative dress style throughout much of the city. Not so much
Dyes
in
are
the merchants
expensive.
quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gav's like, so that's where they get them. Huh.
He
I am
kind of
not selling
smiles.
Felix.
uh, and the young woman kind of like brightens at the mention of Felix, and she's like uh, the little jackanape, the troublemaker.
Yeah, the troublemaker. Good way to describe him. Yeah.
He's missed a few of my shows the last year. I liked having him in the audience. He was not a
He's
young man afraid to say what was on his mind.
that is for sure. He is much trouble, but he will be good man in time.
Um, I would now like a wits, and you can use like a commoner skill, or do you have performer and craftsman?
I don't.
Okay.
The only other skills I have are criminal artist and doctor.
I will actually allow criminal in this case.
Okay. That is a 16.
Okay. You don't know what the deal is, but like there's a look that passes between the young woman and Upman that like you don't know what exactly their relationship is beyond you're relatively sure that they're in some sort of criminal conspiracy together because you've seen that look pass between people who know each other. And like the woman is sort of like giving a look towards Gav, like, is he, should we, like, seeing potential there? Does that make sense? And Upman just kind of like gives a little shake of his head. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, Gav knows when there's weed in the shoebox, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and like the whole vibe was sort of like a do we bring him in? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
like Upman seemed to think it was a bad idea.
yeah. Um, all Gav really does is he holds the door open for the lady as she leaves with the big thing of socks.
Yeah.
Yep. I hope you have a wonderful day.
And she says, "You too. The coat looks lovely."
Danke. He nods again to Herr Upman.
Gav still cannot read, right?
No.
Okay. All right. So we are going to close things out there with Gab ready for the party now,
Yay.
all fancied up. Um, so while I say hello to everyone, what I would like all of my PCs to do who are attending parties tonight is to roll their panache plus their highest. We talked about what was going to be the most appropriate sort of social knack for each party that you're going to. If you are going to Redmond's party, then you are rolling noble. Period. If you are going to Gertrude's party, you can roll craftsman, you can roll artisan, you can roll commoner. Any of those are acceptable. And you keep your panache on that roll.
Um, do I also roll with stunning?
Yes, your
And
appearance
is
also
that
factors into this.
extra, is
As
that extra unkept dice?
yes,
Or
for every level of
okay,
appearance you have, it's an extra unkept die.
so I'd be rolling 5, keep 2.
Awesome.
So,
15.
Wait, okay, I'm doing my
So
intro now. So just
Oh,
take
yeah.
note of your rolls. I'll ask about them in a minute. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the Shadow of the Wachtturm, a 7C first edition Let's Play set in the great lawless city of Freeburg. Our art is courtesy of Hero Forge, first edition 7C, and Be Funky. Our producer is one of the moderators of Dirty 20 Gaming, the delightful and compassionate Gloriosa, and our lore master for the series is the beautiful and benevolent Syndra. Before we get started, I want to give a content warning. While the spirit of 7C is swashbuckling adventure and shadowy intrigue, the story will deal with mature themes, including death, loss, suicide, and grief, and also mandatory attendance to parties. Our setting is recovering from a 30-year civil war over religious differences. It may get dark sometimes, and there's no shame in bowing out. It's not a place your head can go at the moment. So without further ado, I'm going to have our savvy swashbucklers introduce themselves, including our newly in-fashioned Gav.
That's me. As you've been listening, my name is Bison_Stonefist. I'm a pretty regular person on this channel. On Tuesdays, I run our Cyberpunk Red game Carnage Heights. On Thursdays, when we do get that finale finished, or ish, we've got something figured out. I play Encino, our Dragonborn Paladin Ranger / Big Damn Hero, literally right now, for our D&D 5e Fool's Gold adventure, King's Pyrite. And yeah, that's it. Let's go to Hans.
Hello, my name is Rory. I am playing our fine soldier boy.
You.
Yeah, there it is. Hans Ulrich tonight. This is currently I'm only here on these Sundays with these other fine folks playing this fine game. Aside from my weekly appearances, I do plan to actually have a streaming schedule posted eventually. I had a lot of stuff going on, but I'm gonna finalize that and actually have cool things going on soon, hopefully. And there's also occasional new half finished or probably maybe even finished songs on my my current SoundCloud profile, as modern music distributors are. But I believe that's all that I have got. Oh, let's hear from Len.
Hi, folks. It's me, Bat Kyle, your friendly neighborhood Bat Kyle, unless I'm feeling salty that day. You can find me here on Sundays. Congratulations, you found me. Playing Len, Herald of the End Times Costin, because he seems to find every new horrible thing that, world twisting thing that nobody really wants to know, but probably needs to know, and shares it with the group because sharing is caring. Otherwise, you can find me on Thursdays playing everybody's favorite salty, oh so salty, Himalayan pink salt levels, Dead Sea salt levels, Druid.
Licking a
Badge's
salt
new-
lamp levels.
Exactly. And he knew it was going to end like this. Otherwise, you can find me on the Discord, posting unhinged and disturbing food memes and being a general menace, and pretty much nowhere else because social media sucks the life out of you. Over to Sarah.
So, hey y'all, my name's Sarah. I go by Sans on the Discord. You can find me 3 times a week at the moment. The Tuesday game and the Cyberpunk Red, Carnage Heights as Magic, Broken Heart of the Team. I have to turn off that mute. Oh my god. I was hearing the echo between stream and us, so it was driving me insane. On Thursday, I am the DM for the Fool's Gold campaign, King's Pyrite. Hopefully, finale is coming soon. And I'm here tonight as Rosa Nix. Other than that, you can find me working with the Scarred Adventurer on stuff and things that'll come out eventually. And we haven't heard from Ruth yet.
Hi, I'm Ruth. I am here 3 times a week. I'm here on Tuesdays in our Cyberpunk Red game as Exit. Sorry, I just remembered next week. On Thursdays for the finale. It started off great. Would have tricked you if I didn't just stutter there. Would have thought I wrote it down. Ha. Thursdays as our violence craving Desrai. And today as Runa. Yes, you have found me. Otherwise, you won't find me because I am chronically offline. On to Honorine.
Hello, I am Blaze of Gloriosa. Here today playing Honorine, our resident noblewoman smoke show, question mark? Not compared to the others in her party, but like just in general compared to the population. We're all just so pretty. Getting ready for a party. And I'm not here any other nights of the week. I do nothing. I'm not here. Who have we not heard from yet? Storyteller?
I think that might be it.
I think it's time for our storyteller.
Hello, I'm Siosa. I am the storyteller of Shadow of the Wachtturm. I have apparently gotten a reputation for ripping people's hearts out and telling dark stories. So, hooray, that feels like an achievement to me. I also play Anchors Away on Friday night, which is our Pirates versus Zombies story, also called Up the Creek. And you can see us on Fridays, getting into shenanigans and solving mystery from the mind of our favorite Kevin. So, and with that, I'm going to get us rolling. Because we have 2 parties to go through, I'm just going to say the ancient days of Numa, the great storyteller and philosopher Ceres the Wiser, once went to a really kickin' rager. Wasn't quite like this one, but we're going to kind of pan in at the moment. And there's 2 real houses where kind of everything is getting ready. I'm imagining that Rosa and Honorine are both at Honorine's place, kind of like getting into dresses, getting ready, etc. And I don't know if Runa is with them or is kind of like doing things on her own.
Runa is probably like just getting ready to leave, maybe. Because Honorine's gotten her ready. She's feeling very bonita. So yeah, she's probably like just leaving or about to leave. She's had her glow up.
And I'm kind of picturing like in the other house, it's probably where Len and Gav and Hans are getting ready. I can't help but picture that Len is kind of in charge of this.
Runa would go back to meet them there.
Yeah, but before then, Len is doing things like, no, did Gav just take the boots off? We're gonna think they need a cleaning. They need to buff. They need to shine.
This is boot polish.
It is not tasty. Not tasty. Yeah, it is just kind of doing his best to glow up Gav the best way he can. Hans, actually, I don't know that Hans would actually be there with him. Guys, in general, unless it's like a wedding, don't tend to get together to
Unless
dress
it's the
together.
pregame.
Yeah.
And not to get dressed together now.
Yeah, exactly. So, Len will definitely help Gav, but I saw what Hans rolled for his appearance, and I can't think he would have actually managed that if Gav had been there or if Len had been there to actually correct things. So I think we're going to have to say that Hans was, going to do his own thing and meet up with everybody, and then we're going to see the results.
Yeah, I think Gertrude tapped Hans to like, can you just help me move some tables?
I think it's funny
he's
that
on
Runa
chair
and Len
duty.
rolled the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That is a very unfortunate role for Hans.
Yeah. He's normally very put together in military, but in my head, he's trying not to dress military, and he really doesn't know how to not look at least somewhat like a soldier. And this
the
is
fact
the result.
that he hasn't really slept in a couple of days because of the shitting man screwing with him.
The Shatten Man.
Oh, true.
Shat man, yeah, the Shat man.
Sorry, past tense.
I don't think Gav misspoke. I think that was deliberate.
So yeah, we'll glow up and then step out.
So it's a very different experience too, because Honorine and Rosa really have no idea what to expect. All the preparations are being done inside of a mansion, whereas Gertrude's party is like street side, and it's like several different houses that are coming together. So every time you like peek out the window, you can kind of see stuff happening. It looks like there's a bit of a potluck going on. Like there was nothing mentioned about that for some of the people in Eisen. It just seems to be like, oh well, we're gonna bring some food, and up to y'all if anybody had thought to do that, or if it was just kind of like, I guess we're just here to graze.
Now Len would at least have arranged some baked goods or something. He's or a big thing of coffee. Let's go with a big thing of coffee.
Espresso.
His new favorite thing.
Yep.
So
These are a few of my favorite things.
He was running on it at least partially during the sleepless nights of many owls.
So Hans, I mentioned it while you were off camera, but I think Hans got tapped like while he was about to get ready and stuff like that to like, can you help us move some tables? You know? And
Probably,
so
yeah.
he
That sounds
didn't
about
quite
right.
have the same time to like get ready, so he like flew in at the last moment and was just sort of, you know, didn't realize that he'd thrown on the white pants with the gray suit or
Mixed up a couple things. Didn't have a chance to polish his boots as much as he wanted.
Wore the
or,
dreaded
or just,
colorful
oh,
socks.
with everything that had just happened with the captain, he's just like, oh, this jacket still has blood on it. Crap.
What color of
Yeah,
tights
it's
are you
like,
wearing
oh,
with the
crap.
gray suit and the white pants?
Hughes.
What color is that?
All right. So the
Like a
party,
weird
like
gray, I think.
on Gertrude's side, really sort of like kicks off without any particular fanfare. It's just like people are starting up, they're starting to chatter. It is like the neighborhood block party at its finest. Does that make sense? Including that there are some grills that have been dragged out. Somebody just linked the worst possible color of colorful shirt. And there are a lot of artists that live at Gertrude's homes, and they are all taking this opportunity to kind of like pull out easels and set up some of their work and just sort of like put it on display for others to see. There are a few poems and stuff that are like they're doing like live recitations. You know, this is the kind of thing that would normally happen over in like the theater in the round, and it's just sort of like there's some like off the cuff riffing. There's you know, people like displaying their works. There's people displaying like different sort of crafts and things that they're good at. And then and so you know, you just kind of like finding your way out in the crowd and like meeting people and stuff like that. It's happening over like a block or two, so a lot of it is about just sort of like mingling, finding people that you're looking to talk to, that kind of thing. There's like food set all over the place, drinks set all over the place, and it's not in any way restricted to just Gertrude's tenants. Like there are people from neighboring houses. There are a couple of people that have like kind of washed in from like the Despair area and seem to be just sort of like stuffing some food quickly into like bags and like disappearing before anybody can chase them off. But like nobody seems to be out to chase them off. Does that make sense? And you see a couple places where people are just like shopkeepers who've shut down early to come to this and stuff like that are like directing them back towards their stores. Like we have some things we're going to go throughout, just to ask so and so for this. So so let me do some mechanical things real quick. So whatever roll you got, divide by 15, and that's how many free raises you're going to have through the course of the night that you can spend on any roll that you want that is social in nature.
Oh,
Well,
well,
And
we're
if you
fucked.
if you didn't get a 15, you don't have a free raise. I'm sorry.
But if we,
But we get
even if we
one.
have 15, we have
you have 1. 15 divided by
15 is
15
one.
is one.
15 is 1.
I'm
It's
so bad
always-
at math, guys.
It's rounded down. So like
Yeah, so my 16 is a 1.
yes. But it's like it's basically like an ace you can play at any time. Does that make sense? Like
Okay.
and I will actually let you play it after a roll as well because I'm feeling nice. So
Okay.
Runa definitely would have, if she knew that him and Gav were both there, she definitely would have stopped at Lent's place before
Yeah.
heading to the party.
Yeah.
And she
um
has had her glow up.
Oh, you look fantastic tonight.
Thank you kindly.
And Gav has cleaned up surprisingly well.
Herr
Look at
Upman
you.
was very kind. He did most of the work.
It is a very nice coat.
Indeed it is.
We should go
Um,
find friend Hans.
yeah, and Hans has actually been stopped by Runa's cousin on the way out the door. She's like, you have something on your coat. I have some cleaning agent. I think I tried that.
We love Sora. She's
Like,
always looking out.
She's absolutely just like kind of immediately in mom mode, and like she tries the licking thing like that. Like then she kind of like, is this blood?
So like your thumb, like, oh damn it, why isn't it coming out?
Um, and there's like a moment and she just kind of is like doing like the pat down, and then she just sort of like realizes how firm Hans is, and like there's just a blush that crosses her cheek, and she's like, I think I have something that maybe I'll just go grab it.
Oh, right.
Disappears.
Upman's coat is still. Oh no, Upman's coat is the one I've been wearing because it's armored. Shit.
Yeah.
It's the better coat I have. That's the one that's covered in blood.
Yep.
We should go get your good coat. This is my good coat.
This is the good coat. It has armor. What do you mean the good coat?
Yep. And Len is definitely dressed nicely, maybe more like a well-to-do, but not like high-level merchant. Very good clothes, obviously tailored for his form. Maybe calling out the musculature a little more obviously, because he's been feeling pretty appreciated lately.
Yeah,
Runa's
they're
like finally. Oh, sorry.
and as Runa's kind of like crossing through, she recognizes that one of the paintings on display from one of the artists is most definitely like Len's ass. Like, there's not the rest of
How
him,
much
you know what I'm
time do I
saying? It's like
spend
from
looking
I
at Len's
behind.
recognize
ass?
that dimple.
Yeah.
It's
You could
absolutely
bounce
up
a
to you, but
Gilder off that thing.
but like there are
And I
some
will.
appreciative patrons that are just kind of like standing around,
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're not trying to make a point of that. They're like, yes, look, it's more like, look, pretzels.
Look, pretzels.
So yeah, this person has free snacks by their painting.
Yeah. So tonight I will be performing a song from my homeland. This is how we do it. Just kidding. I just couldn't resist.
A copyright strike. No.
So the opening of the party, I'm just gonna like give us like a mingle, okay? And so what I want everybody to do is they're going to make an etiquette roll with their wits. The etiquette can be any of the ones that we mentioned before. Like I'm using etiquette as like a general descriptive term, not as a specific skill. So it can be your artisan, it can be your commoner. I will actually let Hans use enforcer as well. In this case, he's not really like interrogating.
Yeah, I was about to ask. I don't know how I haven't bought commoner yet, and I can afford it. Can I throw a dot in there?
I will. Yeah,
Mainly
I will
just
allow
as
it.
like instead of using enforcer because that just feels weird.
Yes.
Is that using wits or panache?
Asking questions about people makes them feel important, right? Not interrogated.
Yeah.
It's wits plus your whatever.
It's
skill.
wits for this.
Yeah.
So, nice.
Okay, 15.
Okay, so there's an influence
shit.
track. There's an influence track for every court, and basically, like you guys can, you can trade in like those successes that you have. I'll give you like a rate, but it's going to be like basically 10 to 1 of either just sort of like you're getting your name out there and like being well thought of, or you're getting specific introductions to people that are in this court that you can potentially follow up and like kind of specifically develop a relation with. Does that make sense? These are potential informants, potential allies, etc. So for those that are there doing the Honorary, it looks like you only rolled 1 die on that.
The other ones are above.
Oh. You were 1 die short. I get it.
Yeah, I rolled
48? Jesus.
Oh yeah, that was her fashion roll. Honorine over at her party is going wild. Oh yeah, she would just never roll at this part because she's not there yet.
I have 30 raises.
Okay, so for every 10 points out of your roll, you can do an introduction, or you can give yourself a +1 to the influence track for this particular like court. Your group as a whole has a reputation with it. They can like use for influence, spreading good reputation, etc.
Len didn't roll well enough, so I'm just gonna say 1 influence for the court as a whole, getting the group's name out there, such as it is.
Okay.
I don't know what to do.
Gav is like talking to artists and stuff. That's how I rolled it, was artist and panache.
Okay.
And he got a 15, so I think he's going to try and like get an in, kind of like with the artist community in Freiburg.
So
That's
is he looking for a contact?
yeah, kind of because all he knows is Herr Orville, and if I remember correctly, he's kind of a recluse. And
He's not as much of a recluse as like Will as the one that's escorting Rosa. I'm blanking on his name in just a moment, but I will look it up.
the Mozart, or
The
whatever.
violinist. Yeah.
Strata Mozarius. Yeah. So yeah, no, he's kind of looking for a contact within the Freiburg artist community, because that's kind of what you do.
Wilhelm Kurtz is the violinist.
Yes. Thank you. Let's see. So
and he's got his sketchbook with him too.
So I'm going to reflect that as like an actual just amount of influence, because the only actual artist on this list is Guy.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And he's already established as a contact for Gav.
Okay, so yeah, I'll point into the influence track then, I guess.
One of the things that she does notice, though, is there is a person that is here at this party that it does not take Gav very long to realize is one. She's not necessarily a person of influence herself, but she's the caretaker of the orphanage that it like survives by Guy's largesse, right? She is head over heels in love with Guy. He is oblivious. He is as oblivious as Gav is to Hannelore.
Yeah.
Hannelore should be at the party too.
Did anybody invite her?
Hans.
Gav didn't even think to, because he's
Hans totally invited her. Didn't
Hans?
We need the ship
Hans
to
did.
sail.
Are we retconning this?
Yes.
Will you allow it?
I will allow a retroactive invite from Hans.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay, so like I will actually have Hannelore arrives with Wilma at that point. It looks like Wilma got her here like through sheer force of personality. Do you know what I mean? Like Hannelore is like, she has this look of like, I am not surrounded by my books. I'm not okay with this. I'm in the outside, you know what I'm saying? And she just absolutely looks like she freezes a little bit when she sees Gav in a really nice coat. And kind of like just sort of immediately looks around to see if there's like any women kind of like talking to him, hanging with him, you know what I'm saying? And like you see Wilma kind of like look at her, look towards Gav. There's like a quirk in her eyebrow that's like, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Can I roll to see if Runa notices?
I will,
because she's
absolutely.
been watching for Wilma to talk to
You
her.
go right ahead. This is
What
going to be
do I
a
roll?
wits and keen senses. I will go with commoner for Hannelore, or servant if you have that knack, but
Craftsman?
no.
Damn.
She,
Okay.
she is not a crafter of records, despite the amusement I have.
Christian, was it shared with the group, the whole meet cute thing? Because I don't think anybody actually told the group about the whole meet cute thing, so I can't justify Len.
No, I think it's kind of just been like, I think it's mostly been Hans, like kind of like, hey, yeah, remember the librarian? I think she was kind of into you, and then Gav's like, what are you talking about?
Ruth has like
nice.
Top
Ruth
tier
has just
Gav
run into-
impression.
Runa's got no idea. She needs Hans's help.
Yeah, like Runa is just like,
Oh.
there are two pictures of Len's ass in this one party. It's too many.
There's so much going on.
She looks one way, and there's a picture of Gav's ass. She
Why
looks the
does
other
she
way,
know
and
what
there's
his
another
ass looks
picture
like?
of
Not
Gav's
well.
ass. Or not Gav's ass.
Or
Len's
not
ass.
Len's ass. Yeah. So yeah, she does not notice
has no clue.
Hannel's arrival, nor does she notice Wilma's arrival yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's gonna
Um,
noticing Hans's attire. She's just gonna quickly like fix his tie.
don't know where the tie came from.
Yeah, I don't
Your
think
puce
you're
tie.
like,
I don't think I
it's-
own one.
Your puce tie.
no, he's not rocking the ascot.
Got a lacy cravat, got
Oh,
I think the general like style of like noble fashion at this point is like the lace ruff collar,
oh yeah.
but that's
The
also
giant
not super
collars.
fashionable for like the military people.
Yeah, no way.
So
In that case, she's gonna fix the collar of his coat. Be like, there you go.
He's wearing his old coat,
Yeah.
so it probably has like a bit of dust on the shoulders.
She's just gonna like fix that. brush the dust off. There you go. Bit better now.
Oh goodness, thank you. I'm so scattered lately. This is, oh my goodness.
It seems so.
Yeah.
If you need anything, let me know.
I probably need a drink to get started.
All right. Well, they have those here.
Oh, have you seen Vilma around yet?
I've been looking for her.
I heard she was coming.
I have not seen her.
Also keep an eye out, I suppose.
3 or 4 people all trying to find her.
One of the people that is here, I'm going to give this to Hans without it taking any of his points, is the Avalon woman that she saw the mural of himself inside of her home.
Oh, right. Stalker lady is here.
She doesn't seem to be like watching anybody at the moment, but she does seem to be a little bit like off by herself.
All right, so who of us notices Wilma first? Because all of us want to
Yeah.
talk to her about something.
There's
Ruth,
so many
Ruth and
different
Hans
things
both
I
got 31s on their social rolls, so I will let them decide between themselves if
Okay.
they see her first or
At the
simultaneous.
same time, because they are actively talking to each other. I think that would be funny if they're both like,
Just
found
like,
her.
oh,
Yeah, they're both talking, and then both their heads turn the same way and go, oh.
Also with both of you with like the 30s, so like most of the people that are here that are kind of like to the benefit of Gertrude, like as in the artists and the craftspeople and stuff like that, who like rent her homes. What you're quickly realizing is that kind of the people who you could say run this court are the like fair-minded landlords. Does that make sense? They have reasonable rates. They don't kick out people like on a whim. You know what I'm saying? They've kind of like begun to naturally exclude anybody that gets a reputation as just being like really awful. Does that make sense? Of which Gertrude is kind of like the main one. You see like Honorine's like very sort of nervous OCD landlord. He's here. He also looks like he doesn't really want to be here, but he's being dragged around by like a much bigger friend. You know what I'm saying? Who's like making a point of introducing him, is actually trying to actively introduce him to like a couple of women at the party. You know what I'm saying? And Waldo just looks like, oh, hello. Can I melt into your shadow? Kind of nervousness. It's very much like a male version of like what's going on with Hannelore.
that makes sense. Oh, right, we're supposed to figure out what to do with the points.
Yes.
Oh,
So you can make 3 contexts, you can add 3 influence, you can do some variation of those.
yeah.
So Wilma wouldn't count in this because she's already a contact, correct?
No, Wilma's not a part of this, and Gertrude's not a part of this. If you've already met them, then they're not a part of it. This is getting an introduction.
Would there be anyone that necessarily sparks Runa's interest?
There are a lot of landlords. There's the orphanage caretaker. Hans recognizes the 2 bakers that he saw before that were like the ones doing a lot of the charity baking for the church. Does that make sense? They're here and they keep kind of like fussing with tables, like they look like they already brought a ridiculous amount of food and wish they brought more.
I think continue.
But beyond that, it's a lot of like landowners. And like one of the ways that it becomes clear as you're watching to kind of gather respect in this place is to be a fair landlord, you know, who's like kind to their tenants. It goes an enormous amount of way in a place where like there are so many homeless, there's so many people just trying to get into the city to some degree.
Runa is no landlord, but her family are like living with her. So
but one of the things that Hans does note is like everybody that he meets and stuff like that, none of them are from Finehearth. They all own land on like the northern side of the city.
Ah, interesting.
I think I'm gonna go with 3 points towards the influence.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Runa's
don't even know who
schmoozing.
you would talk to. I'd say at least 2 for influence, and maybe save one if I think of someone.
Sure. If like somebody gets kind of mentioned in somebody else's post and you want to get introduced to them, just tap me.
Okay.
But as we both see Wilma at the same time, we're just gonna be like, come on, let's go.
All right. And so you guys kind of roll up, and you know, like make introductions. Wilma just kind of like smiles and she kind of like, friend Hans, if you would do me a favor, if you would bring Gav over here.
Oh, yes.
I have a favor to ask of him.
That's right.
Is there something going on?
Yes, I will be right back. I'll go find her.
Wilma gives you a look that says absolutely, and I'm not going to say it in front of the person I'm with.
Runa just
nothing
gives-
untoward.
Gives a very like subtle and polite nod.
Yeah, kind of sip through the crowd a bit.
He's not
So
hard to
you're-
find.
No,
He's so big.
mainly just trying to figure out how to get to him without being rude and like bumping into a bunch of people.
Yeah. We're going to cut over to Rose and Honorine, who are now like it's not so much like picked up. There's only like 2 roads in Eisen that you can reasonably take a carriage across. And so they're just not like a common consideration. Does that make sense? But they are being met at the same place by their respective gates. Wilhelm Kurtz and Ettore Mondadi. I will let you describe kind of like, you know, how they're getting ready is going, because they're going to something that's a lot fancier. I think Rose is in a very new kind of dress for her.
Oh yeah, Rosa. I don't know how many times that she interrupts Honorine and just goes, "Help! I do not understand these dice."
Honorine 100% just like kind of winds up and she's like, hold on to the bedpost. Don't let go. I'll tie it for you.
Is there a type of endurance check?
Strength check.
No, but I will let you take this on if you would like to take an additional free raise from how fucking tight Honorine gets it. I will make you make a
Perfect.
resolve check if you try to take any action that is like action oriented.
Require
Does that make sense?
flexibility. So listen.
I'm talking requires deep breathing. Like
listen.
she would have to make a resolve check to not pass out while singing.
So
Oh
listen.
Lord, she's just learning how.
So yeah, so Honorine is definitely like pulling them kind of tight. And I'm sure Rosa is like, oh, that's not so bad. She's like, we just need to do the boob scoop. So excuse me. And then she's like, now hold on tighter. And then like retightens everything. She's like, I have done this for the court. I've been doing this for my whole life. I've had people do it for me. Like, I know what I'm about. So I don't know. Like, do you want to do the
I think it's funnier
mm-hmm.
if we. Yeah, she'll go for the extra die.
Okay.
It's an actual extra free raise that she gets to spend at any point. And there's absolutely like a reaction.
Free raise of tight corset.
You had the name right on hand before. It was Wilhelm Kurtz, right?
Wilhelm Kurtz.
Okay. Yeah, I said it a second ago and immediately forgot it because I love my brain. All right. So
she has the plus raise of boobage.
Yeah, and it's like the dressmaker was not lying when she said that he had a type. Like you can tell that this is a man who's very well trained in etiquette and high society and whatnot, but like his eyes dive. Do you understand? Like they swimming pool in the cleavage.
Swan dive.
It is like not until Ettore Mondavi just like gives him like a elbow and then like moves to take Honoreen's hand and kisses her knuckles in greeting. You know what I'm saying? That he seriously like springs back to like life and like remembers himself. Does that make sense? You can tell that he had just sort of like expected to have an attractive person to bring to the party with him, and he thinks right now he has one of the most attractive people.
Your date should always think that you're the most attractive people, though, so that's perfect. In my opinion.
Yeah, and he has his violin with him. Ettore offers his arm.
Senor Mondavi.
He
You
kind
look
of like
lovely.
if says, if you'll pardon, I know it is against etiquette, but I am left-handed, and if there should be trouble in the streets, I would prefer to have it available. So he like offers his right instead, even though like the kind of norm is the other way around. Does that make sense?
Perfectly fine.
Just on the route there, like Ettore is far more charming. Like he just sort of has like a natural like small talk and stuff like that. Wilhelm seems to cover his own discomfort with sort of like aggression. Does that make sense? And like being distant, being stiff, but like he's having a harder time with Rosa because he doesn't actually want to do that to her, but he's been at it for so long, like the ruts are rutted. Does that make sense?
You've flustergated him.
He is very flustergated. And he's just sort of like, you know, Ettore kind of like is happy to like start kind of like telling some stories of like Vodacce to Honorine, maybe taking the occasional opportunity to like teach her some Vodacce phrases by like whispering in her ear. It's like it is incredibly flirtatious. You know what I'm saying? But also like exactly the kind of thing that if somebody were to challenge him on it, he'd be like, I was just teaching you something perfectly innocent. It's all the manner of how he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Moderate incel vibes.
No, I love this man.
Sorry.
I'm very charmed. Honorine is very charmed.
Like it's not very incel at all. Like for me, like the whole thing is like incel is sort of defined by like a rage and like I'm unable to like impress women. Like Wilhelm has maybe like a little edge of that. Like Ettore has never had a problem attracting
That's
women.
what I
or
meant
being
with
attracted by them.
Wilhelm. I know Ettore is
yeah.
basically friggin' Antonio Banderas when it comes to charm, but
He's Chad Eddie. I think the incel thing is like the Chads, but he's like the Vodacce version. So Chad Eddie.
Sure.
That was a terrible joke. Sorry.
I got
I
it.
was like,
I
is
got
that
it.
kind of cheese? Like, are we?
Yeah, that took too much explanation. We're moving on. Okay, so on the map, I just want to point out, because it might become relevant at some point in the future, where the home of Redmond Earhart is. And it is number 14 on the map. I'm pinging it real quick. I think we're all on the right map. Yeah, we are. What is sort of remarkable about it? First off, you have to like travel sort of around like a whole elevated area, which looks like it belongs to someone else, and it creates this like very much a sense of like a private nook that is like a mansion, a single small business, and also it has two businesses. One of them which is Wachtturm Freiburg, and the other which is a barbershop. But the mansion of Redmond Earhart is like tall enough that it can actually be seen from the other side of like the elevated hilltop. Does that make sense? So like as you're on the far side of it, you can see the back of it. And as you approach, there's gardens for entry and everything. There's like a walled gate. You lose count of the number of like swordsmen you see on guard. I don't mean just guards. I mean men with pins. Does that make sense? Like that are normally kind of charged for a duel, or you pay like in the dozens or 100 of guilder a night. Does that make sense? The amount of security that is on hand, like is insane. It's like not enough to like repel an army because these are just very trained swordsmen, but like any individual bad actor like who decided to try to cause a scene is going to get dueled within seconds. Does that make sense if they offend the host? And dueled by somebody very good at what they do. You don't see a single novice pin. Almost everybody is an adept. There's no masters on hand. It's probably like 1 or 2 bodyguards that are inside. The house is large. It is not as opulent as some of the things Honorine has seen in Charoops. Does that make sense? The fact that it is a contender for it, though, speaks to just how wealthy Redmond is. And particularly because in Eisen, it is deeply frowned upon to be kind of particularly opulent. Does that make sense? This man has enough power and wealth that he's bucking the convention. And he's also very safe in this sort of like secured little cul-de-sac. That also sort of borders on like where the despair territory begins. Does that make sense? But you notice that like on this side of it, there are like fences, gates, like a lot more to just keep people from trying to come in this way, and guards that are posted on it. The people on the other side are giving them a wide enough berth that you think that there's violence done to anybody that gets too close for their liking. So all right. And you guys both head within. You're going to get to do the same etiquette rolls. This is wits based instead of panache based. The panache is just how much of an initial first appearance, first impressions get you. It's only going to be with the noble skill. You do get to add appearance. And you keep your wits.
Hmm.
45.
Holy
25.
shit.
Nicely done.
I
think
will
we
also
both upgraded
ask,
our wits.
I will also ask that Rosa give me. I'm gonna let you pick one of the 4 strands of like whether you want to be kind of focused on cups tonight or swords or like because I assume she's kind of frequently kind of digging into her abilities and just like looking at people whenever she gets a moment to see connections.
I don't.
Or is she avoiding it?
She's gonna try to avoid it to not get overstimulated.
Okay.
Because she's already scared about how many people are going to be there.
Okay.
Is she wearing her mask?
Actually, no, she wouldn't be because he asked. I can imagine he would have asked for her to go without, right?
I thought she had taken off the mask to introduce herself to him.
She
So
did.
he wouldn't have thought to ask it because he would just assume that was how she presented herself to the world.
Okay, so yeah, then she'd probably keep it off because that's what's expected.
I think Honorine would have been like, it would be perfectly fashionable for you to wear like a mask, like eye decorations or like, it'd be perfectly acceptable for you to wear something around your eyes if you're more comfortable, or like kind of the applique sort of like masquerade look. Like she could do that. And that'd be kind of rad.
Okay, yeah, she'd ask for that then.
Okay.
I'm thinking like not a full domino, but like, in movies how they'll like apply like extra eye accessories, like kind of thing. I don't know if that makes any sense.
That might actually draw attention to her eyes in the case that she used magic.
Yeah.
And a lot of what she's doing is an attempt to avoid seeing her eyes when she's using her abilities.
That's why she wears the mask.
Yeah, so I mean,
Instead of the traditional veil.
I think Honorine would have like offered. I don't know if Honorine knows why she wears the mask. I think she assumes it's because of the scars.
upon offering and like thinking about it. Let's not, since it'll bring attention to my eyes if I do any magic.
Okay.
All right. So with Rosa just sort of like being present, Wilhelm is like he's quick to like make introductions, but he's also sort of like do you know what I mean when I say like the social trick of like I don't actually remember your name, but I'll introduce the person with me so that the person that I'm talking to can make their own introductions. Does that make sense? Wilhelm remembers very few names of the people that are here. Does that make sense? Rosa, with her 45, can easily pick up. He also does not like most of them. And he is doing his best to hide it. And it's not just his sort of general antisocialness, is he specifically does not like many of the people here.
Okay.
But he is doing a good job of like just sort of playing it off as his own roughness. Does that make sense? And he's kind of like, you know, introducing Rosa, like Honorine can actually totally get the vibe that he very much is like, look at this hotness. It's very much a genuine, like sort of like pride in showing her off. Does that make sense? The other thing that I'm going to give Rosa for her 45 is she realizes who one of the people at this party is before introducing or getting introduced to him, because the appointed head of the Inquisition in Freiburg is here. He is not in uniform. He's wearing ordinary clothes, but like half of his face is burned. He has stark white hair. You know, his like tattoos are covered and stuff like that, but like she had heard him briefly when he was calling out orders to chase after Honorine. His voice is distinct. There's something gravelly and sort of unmistakable about it. And she hears his voice from another room and realizes that he's there. And when she kind of goes around, he's not wearing his Inquisition uniform, but he is like socializing and mixing. He is talking to a very uncomfortable looking Wilma Probst.
Wilma at our party?
Yes. Wilma Probst is at your party. Wilma Probst is also at this party. I totally want a screen cap of everybody's faces right now.
You have confused all of the players. Yeah, there's a moment of Rosa doesn't know what to do because she'd like to go say hello to Senora Prost, but at the same time she's like, is he gonna recognize me?
Your call. What are you doing?
Give me a second. I don't have. Shoot. Okay. Yeah, she's going for it.
Okay. Yeah, and you know, like Wilhelm kind of approaches. I don't believe we've had the pleasure. I Wilhelm Kurz. This is Rosa Nix. Just pull open some earlier. And the man kind of like Archbishop Rosencrantz and offers a hand, shakes it, offers it to, he kisses Rose's hand. As that is the convention. Did she have to make a roll to like of having her skin not crawl? Like, should I be asking for that?
I'm so scared if you are.
Yeah, I think given her hunted background and everything like that, I'm actually going to call for just like a basic. It's going to be target number 20, but it's going to be wits plus her noble skill.
She has no noble skill. I've been
Actually,
running.
actually, I will give you performer because this is flat out just fucking lying. Yes, roll to save versus Wiggins. And you may use your appearance on this because, like men are distracted by appearances.
Do we have an NPC gallery that I'm missing? That I can pop open the picture?
I put a picture of him up earlier, but it was in his uniform, I believe. I don't have a picture of him without it.
Okay.
I don't know if it's good or not. 23.
That is just good enough.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh no.
This is
Oh no.
him in his uniform.
Technically, Honorine has also met this individual.
Did she meet him or was she just fleeing from him, honestly?
He was in a cage where he was.
All right.
So is Honorine like
She knows
avoiding
that
him? Did she part ways, or is she gonna go talk to him? Because he knows her face.
I farm him for loot in Path of Exile. So, when they got into the party, Etwar, I assume, probably knows more people than she does, right?
Yeah, so the vibe with Ettore is that he knows a lot more about these people than they know about him, but he's not letting on to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like he sort of knows his way around, and that's sort of why she picked him. Was like she expected that he knew who. So she is looking to meet some of the people that she learned about from the Court of Staves. So when they first came in, Honorine like has a mission, but she's also like, if Rosa is like completely flipping her shit, she doesn't want to leave Rosa alone. Oh, sorry. So if Rosa is needing the emotional support sister, like she doesn't want to leave her alone, but she like has things she wants to do. Like she came to this party to work.
Okay.
I think it's I don't think she needs the emotional support sister. It's she's more just uncomfortable because this is not her scene. She would have felt better at the art party.
I mean, and so it depends on the vibe coming from Rosa. Like if Rosa is doing like the eyes equivalent of grabbing Honorine around the legs and begging her not to leave, Honorine's not going to leave her alone at the party. But if Rosa seems okay, like floating a little bit on herself, on her own, Honorine's going to be looking for Mr. Hagelstoffer.
Gesundheit.
Ettore, okay, refresh my memory. Does Ettore know about Honorine and her kind of connection to the, like he got filled in on that, right?
Connection to the
Inquisition, like the fact that, was he ever made aware of that, or is that something he doesn't know? I don't remember if there was a scene about that or not. I know there's a couple times where they've been like, we're going to tell him stuff in downtime, like, but that was like Gav talking to him. I don't know if Gav would have relayed it or.
There was not an outright scene. There wasn't an outright scene. Would Gav have told him about it? About the run-in with the Inquisition with the new princess or whatever?
I honestly don't think so. He might have. Oh, gosh, Gav and Ettore's like interactions have mostly been about the Court of Shadows,
which is fine.
The Krauses. So that's kind of been where their conversations have been going.
I thought when the group, though, we were first kind of establishing that, hey, maybe we're going to work together. They mentioned especially that they wanted to keep certain members of the
right.
group out of view of the Inquisition while they're being active.
Well, I have a solution, which is that when she hears the guy's voice, because it's very distinctive, so she hears the gravelly, like, I got my throat slit and healed it up instead of dying, like, voice. She kind of, like, snaps her fan open and, like, kind of, like, leans to Etwar and, like, I need to avoid that man.
And Ettore, like, oh, absolutely, he says.
Who
he
is
says,
that? Like, I know
This
that she
is-
knows a little bit. She'll probably just be like, what do you know about him?
Says the Archbishop Rosencrantz.
Yeah.
He has fantastic penmanship, or his scribe does.
He reads his mail.
So, he kind of like smiles. He says, a while ago, he wrote for some assistance from the head of the Inquisition. Unfortunately, his letter did not arrive as intended. And says, but he specifically mentioned a young lady that he believed to have some supernatural forces about her that had come into his possession. Says, it looks like he's looking for support where the Cardinal did not deliver it. And he's referring to Cardinal Verdugo as the head of the Inquisition.
Support where the Cardinal didn't deliver it. What is that? I don't parse that.
It says the Archbishop Rosencrantz wrote to the Cardinal of Verdugo asking him for money and men so that he could take Freiburg by force. He says the Cardinal did not reply because his letter was lost somewhere along the way.
At the mention of, like, taking Freiburg by force, she, like, suddenly swallows her whole mouthful of drink and, like, kind of just does a...
He kind of he like pulls her close as if like they're bantering, and he's like whispering more Vadachi to her. You know what I'm saying? It's like this exact same 30 vibes before.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I assume you know Wilma Probst, the woman that he's speaking to. He says the very robust man in the corner, like he just kind of angles himself so that she can see in the glass behind him. He's a very, very big man. And none of it is robust muscularity. Like that's a very kind description of it.
Oh Lord, he coming.
And says that gentleman is our host, Redmond Earhart. He says, and the very large, very muscular man next to him is Kelly Lorig. He says he is the head of the largest mercenary organization in Freiburg. And looking over the shoulder, you can see a man that has 2 panzer hands that he is wearing at a party. Long blonde hair, incredibly scarred.
Honoring's totally like, Mr. Earhart isn't nearly as handsome as he is rich, and that's unfortunate.
He says, yes, I would not want to be added to the roster of ex-wives of Redmond Earhart.
Nor I. Anymore.
Roster is wild.
Yeah.
That's an insane way of phrasing it.
Okay, she's like, all right, well,
To my knowledge, Mr. Earhart was a devout Vaticine up until the point where he sought a divorce, at which point he became an objectionist when his request was refused. He says he is on number 7 now, I believe.
divorces? Or is he a widower?
There's a mix. I would say a number of accidents and a number of divorces.
Well, that poor man. So unlucky in love.
Yes, it is tragic to be so unlovable.
She just kind of like taps him on the shoulder with her fan, like,
Like, don't make me laugh in public.
okay. But so
He
regardless, she's
says,
like,
would you like me to make an introduction?
like is a really strong word at this point.
Let's call it an obligation.
Yes. Yes. However, I do need to avoid Mr. White Streak there.
Ah, yes.
As you see Rosa going to talk to him.
My sister should
Yeah.
avoid him too.
But Ettore seems to have like just a sixth sense for kind of like people management of like moving literally behind the guy so that like he can make introductions to Redmond Earhart with Honorine on his side and then like circle around the opposite side without, unless the Cardinal like exactly turns around, he won't spot Honorine. Does that make sense?
It's like when in movies when like the big person is like looking around and the little person is like shoop, shoop.
It is exactly like that. It is like a stealth roll in a crowded room.
Damn.
And he rolls up and makes introductions. He says, Mr. Earhart, so delighted to receive an invitation, which he didn't. He got a +1 from Honorine, but like Redmond just seems to like smile through it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He says, I had been meaning to make your acquaintance for some time. Forgive me, allow me to make some introductions. This is Henri Size-du-Size, the most beautiful cousin of Jamais Size-du-Size of the Montaigne families. He says, and I am Ettore Mondavi, acting on behalf of Alberto Mondavi here in the city. I had been meaning to talk to you about some business arrangements for quite some time. And he absolutely puts on the smarmiest, like, Vidachi businessman doing the most inappropriate thing at a party. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's talk business right now. And the reaction from Redmond is like an immediate desire to disengage. Does that make sense? And he just like sidles towards him, and Redmond is like, oh, yes, I am delighted. Lovely to meet you, Honorine. Excuse me, there's somebody I must meet.
Good, great, awesome. Love that.
Loring,
just
the
smiles.
huge guy with the panzer hands, just kind of like studies both of them like stoically. And Ettore gives him like a very charming smile. And there's just absolutely no expression on Loring's face. Does that make sense? And you kind of get like an intense sense of like suspicion and distrust from him. All right. So Rosa.
Great.
Now, talking to the Cardinal and talking to Wilma. So the Cardinal is kind of, you know, he like bows to Wilhelm and he says, I have heard things about your music. He says that it runs towards the exceptionally passionate. And there's just sort of like a, like almost judgmental quality, you know what I'm saying? Of like the idea of like runaway emotion can lead to sin and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? And Wilhelm is kind of like, Theus has given me a gift, and I feel it's my responsibility to share it with the masses. It says it hopes that his inspiration might spread to others. And there's just like a hint of nervousness. Wilhelm is not immune to like fear of the Inquisition. Do you know what I mean? And like there are some people he might not like, but he knows he cannot well afford to like piss off, right?
Oh,
yeah. And Wilma kind of, she extends a hand and she says, I have been a long admirer to Wilhelm. And then looks Rosa like dead in the face, and it's impossible to tell whether she's doing it because the Cardinal is here or she's like, I don't believe we've had the pleasure of an introduction. And extends her hand.
Rosa Nix, it's nice to meet you.
This is nice to meet you as well. Have you been in Freeburg for long?
See, I have. I work in the merchant's quarter.
Did you say the merchant's quarter or riverfront? Are you deliberately lying about it?
Riverfront.
Okay,
I messed
I was
up.
just asking. I was just curious. No, it was fine if you were lying about it. I wanted to know if it was deliberate or.
Oh no, that was an accident.
Um, she says, commerce is the lifeblood of Freiburg. And you can tell the Cardinal is just like, this is the dullest possible conversation for him. Does that make sense? Like he doesn't really like want to talk about commerce. But he's also like an incredibly disciplined and patient person. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of people going out of the way to talk to him.
Yep. Rose is gonna keep it as like benign as possible. And like
Yeah, and
keep
one
it
is
as
kind of
boring.
like there are a number of initiatives in the merchants quarter that I had been, or in Riverfront that I had been considering seeking a patron for, things that I thought might improve some of its security. The influence of the criminal underworld there is extensive. Do you mind if I might ask you about some of them?
See, I do not mind.
And you see, like she kind of turns and she sees Redmond heading to another room, and she kind of like, I would be delighted. Perhaps I can speak to you at the administration hall some other time. And she doesn't beeline, but it is clear that she is tailing Redmond.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the clicking sound was me. I'm sorry, Honorin. Okay.
Sorry.
It's nice to know that my microphone is apparently picking up more. What would Rose like to do? She can either stay with the Cardinal and Wilhelm or make an excuse to elsewhere.
Yeah, she's going to kind of excuse herself with Wilhelm and basically to see more of the party, I guess. Or to meet
Sure.
more people.
He says, I do apologize. I will need to be on stage within a few minutes. So, and he just, he says, but I will be happy to join you after. I'm not obligated to entertain for the night, but when Wilhelm is asked to a party, it is not for his scintillating conversation.
Of course. I will find Lady Honorine her I do not know the Eisen word for it.
He looks a little perplexed himself, not quite sure what word she's searching for.
Date.
Is she looking for Honorine and kind of joining her and Ettore, or is she gonna trail Wilma, or?
Yeah, she's gonna go hang out with Honorine because that's someone she knows, and if Wilma's working, she's gonna let Wilma work.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna cut over to the other party at this point. Runa and Hans are, I think Hans had just brought over Gav, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I will let anyone who wants to make another wits. Well, I think it's just Runa. I think if you want to make another like wits roll to figure out that there's a thing going on.
No. Can only get worse in one way. I rolled
that was wits plus keen senses.
I don't have those.
Well, no, but
it's not keen senses. It is just a social roll.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
The
wait, social roll. So would I add?
It's a perceptive social roll. I don't allow keen senses because 10. That's like for. Okay.
Yeah, this is a reading facial expressions type thing.
Okay. I will give it to you. It is like a patently obvious, like 5 or higher. You got a 3 last time, which is why you missed it. Hannelore is just like, she does not know what to say. She has a crush. She thinks Gav is like spoken for, you know what I'm saying? She has done her best to like nice herself up. Like Wilma has actually helped with it, like the picking out her dress and like makeup and everything like that. She has not been out. like this in a social context to try to impress a man like ever, or maybe in long enough that like something traumatic happened the last time. Does that make sense? And she has like mad notice me energy like around Gav.
Runa kind of like looks between the two of them, looks at Wilma and nods in understanding. Like, ah, yes, you don't have to tell me now. I get it.
Well, if nobody else is going to say anything, Len's just going to kind of wander over and be like, so, there's a giant murder snake in the sewers.
Wilma just like spits a drink.
Runa kind of like covers Len's mouth. Perhaps we should find a place a bit more private, Wilma.
Honolulu like, oh, what?
You little mouse. I did not expect to see you outside the Hall of Records.
That is really like 2 octaves above her normal speaking tone.
Yeah.
Oh, Hall of Records, you might be useful for this. Bring her too. Come, everybody, come to my place for a little bit. Everybody, come.
Like,
And he just
do I need
starts
to go back
hurting
and get some
people.
records?
No, come on. This,
Okay.
you might know of records. We will see.
Okay.
And he kind of herds everybody into his house and closes the door, and it's like, all right, so now that I have your attention, I'm sorry to bring this matters to you at the party, but this seemed to be the best place we could sort of discuss this. And I did not want to wait until office hours. During a scouting mission, like looking into a man who was leading parties of would-be nobles and nouveau riche wastrels on hunting people from the Foulberg for money. Money they were not paying to the people they were hunting.
Wilma's like, get to the murder snake.
Okay. Outside of the city, and he'll kind of detail the direction and such. That is a. Do you know the term Verschlingen?
Gesundheit.
One second.
History check.
Wait, those idiots at the
says-
explorers were telling the truth?
She says, there was a request to the Explorer Society to provide a hunting party that means devourer.
I was part of that party.
She kind of
left.
she says there's one of those in Freeburg.
One outside and one in. I tracked the one outside, killed everybody except the man leading the hunting party, and I know where he is. We will deal with him, Gav. And Hans, and Runa, if you want to come along. Probably not Little Mouse. It seems outside her wheelhouse. But there was also a track of another one that had made its way into the sewers.
And I
Near
also
there.
have more information where that one has come from, and it also happens to be information about the cloaked man that both of us have seen.
Yeah.
I don't know who would like to be eligible to notice this. Honolulu looks like maybe a few seconds from her corset making her pass out.
Runa's gonna like kind of steady her. Are you all right?
She's like, I don't like snakes very much.
I was going to ask if you knew if the Hall of Records had any information on such beasts or layout of the sewers in this area, and he'll kind of notate where it might be, like schematics.
Finer heard somewhere.
Yeah. Basically under fire.
She says all of those were built in the last 30 years, so I should have some records, yes.
Perfect, because we will need to find the nest, then we will need to deal with the problem before it gets bigger.
This doesn't have to all happen tonight, though, of course. You don't have to go
Are
running
you
back to the Hall of
okay?
Records.
You look pale.
Um, she's like, I live very close to Vinehearth and a nest of snakes.
No, single snake. Stay out of sewers. You will be fine for now. We will deal with it
Yeah,
before it becomes a.
And Wilma just sort of like moves a chair and eases her.
Runa's kind of
Like-
been like steadying her, like making sure she doesn't fall,
Like,
hoping
yeah,
that someone will get a chair.
Yeah, there is clean water in the jug in the kitchen if you want to get her a drink.
Runa
some
will
water would
after
help.
she sits.
No, Gav.
Oh
Said
yes,
Gintra.
I didn't hear you say Gav. I'm sorry.
I love that
is
we're
doing his
working.
part here.
We're working the romance, and we're like updating on the critical
Romance and
dangers.
giant snakes, so.
We can multitask.
We're multitaskers here.
That's right. So yeah, he'll send Gav off on that, but it's like, so yes, this is something we will do our best to handle, but we may need support from the guard, even if it's just to cut off some exits temporarily. I do not think the guard is equipped to handle something like this on their own.
She says the guard, mercenaries. She says actually the best people we could probably contact right now would be the knights and ask if they would assist us.
They would be needed.
I have a bit of an in with them. I can inquire.
Oh, good.
And I will begin building up, I suppose, rebuilding the protective infrastructure in the district as well.
Yes, you mentioned that.
We're so sorry to spring this all on you during what is meant to be a night of merriment, but as Lynn mentioned, it is. We know you're very busy and did not want to interrupt during regular business hours.
This is a worthy interruption. If you need to hire mercenaries, if you need, if someone could be sent to speak to Dietrich immediately, that would be for the best. I can send a runner if we like. But I believe he might be planning on attending here. I think Gertrude might have wheedled him out of the monastery.
That Dietrich?
Not Dietrich Tybalt.
Dietrich Proust. He is the head
Thank
of
you.
the Knights of the Rosencross.
Okay.
I was like, oh,
It's like, hold up, which one?
now Runa's gonna have to dodge someone at a party.
Yeah.
It's going around.
Honorin's like, welcome to the club.
Yep.
I will keep an eye out for him to bring in this news.
On some other unfortunate news, there used to only be the one. The cloaked man, I believe, to be Festin, he's specifically a Bruin mage, and she's going to explain what that entails. But it's just very long-winded for me right now. I looked in on him, and when I did, he birthed Verslingen. I believe this to be a very bad sign and could be someone who will try to bring disaster to Freiburg in the future.
Most specifically, and this is also important to know, we believe he is targeting the Wachtturm itself.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And the
She
Wachtturm
kind of-
is
There is
more important than just a historical anomaly.
She says, I know of one master Scaregin in the city. She says, Oscar
city?
Daggs. Yes. She says he sells his services to the highest bidder. He's a Vendel, not a Vestan.
Mm.
Do you know what he looks like?
He's very reclusive. He has an estate, and most anyone who wants to buy his services has to come to him.
I'll just kind of nod to Runa as We can address that.
I could talk to him.
Hannelore kind of like, I can find his address for you tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes, it can wait till tomorrow, love.
She's like
Yes.
lugging the water.
Gav being the most familiar with the sewers and layouts and such, and hunting monsters within would be the best one to talk to you about that.
Gav, would you also be able to grab her cool towel, please?
It's like
She's
he was. You say that just as he's about to sit back down. He's like, ah.
So sorry.
She looks sort of like extremely guilty for a moment. She's like, is there a chance we could go to the Hall of Records? I could start putting together a map of the sewers. It will take some time.
Gav, forget the towel. Possibly, I noticed you did not seem like you were feeling very comfortable with this setting either. Would you escort Hannelore back to the Hall of Records so she can begin her work?
Even Len's getting in on the meet cute.
Yeah, let's totally like.
All of us are so in on it.
Let's
Well,
go.
For other
Hannelore is like 100% giving Glenn like the grateful eyes. Like, I don't know who you are, but
Gav's like, I will
Runa
keep
kind
her
of just
safe.
like looks at her like, we've got you.
Yep.
I will make sure she is safe.
But it's like, I know that Gav is an unattached man, but I'm sure your reputation will not suffer for being escorted by him.
no, that's fine. She starts to stand. She's still a little like woozy,
Yeah.
and you see Wilma look just a moment kind of Runa catches like what Wilma does. She just kind of like pulls her off to like a side, and she just does a little bit of loosening of like the seams that are on the side of like the corset, well, where like she's about to go off with Gav and be walking a distance. So, and Hannelore kind of like
Yeah.
but it's not like a full removal, it's just sort of like a tug the strings so that
You can actually breathe a little bit.
How tightly did Honorine lace Runa's corset?
As tight as you want.
She would have, Runa, unknowing, probably would have said, go crazy, because she has climbed freezing cold mountains and lived.
Everyone's getting titties tonight, man.
I am comfortable giving Runa the exact same free raise that I gave to Rosa for the exorbitantly
Free
tight.
raise. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, free raise, yeah. Indeed.
All right.
All right, so I guess Gav is taking Hannelore off, and the rest of them are kind of left to continue talking. I don't know what else they have to really discuss at the moment.
I feel like we just like word vomited it all to her.
Yeah.
And like she's like, all right, I am going to find somebody to send some runners to some of the mercenary groups to see if they're willing to support as well. Perhaps someone should go to Hans. You're looking for Mr. Probst or Mr. Proust.
Yes. I shall.
And
you said you may be in attendance tonight?
I know Gertrude had asked him and had been very hopeful that he would be coming.
And to cover things, since we don't want to keep this going too long and don't want to attract suspicion, Len trots off to his room for a moment and comes back with the same picture that earned the artist the patronage the first time. He's like, this will be our cover.
Very good.
Wilma kind of looks a little bit puzzled.
Just be like, we will be discussing a possible patronage for one of the artists. Apparently, I'm quite popular as a model. You will see parts of me out there. All of me.
Those are you.
Specifically his room.
Yeah, they did not tell me they would be putting those on display at the party. So that will be a thing we discuss.
I hate it when that happens.
She says, you have to be careful. She says, you understand that, and she kind of like gestures towards like one of the paintings. I don't have a eyes and hand name on hand. Sorry.
Eyes and name generator.
Yeah. She says, you understand Adelaide is not a painter, she's a sculptor.
Though this caught the eye of at least one other. No, oh god.
Ooh!
And Wilma kind of like, oh, you sweet boy. cut over to the other group.
You bastard.
For the first time in the campaign, Len blushes.
All
I'm
right.
not
Crimson,
alone.
my guys. Crimson.
All right. So cutting over to Henri and Rosa. So I still don't think that we've kind of gone through the list of like, you had wanted to be introduced to, who was it? Hagelstoffer.
Hagelstoffer.
Okay, so
Mr. Casino.
do you know the sort of like archetype of like the snootiest butler in the world, that sort of like super thin pointy nose, you know, like that is Franz Hagelstoffer, and he is like dressed immaculately. He is probably he's the bar for German fashion in the room. Does that make sense? Like he's what like sets the standard. Everything is poise, everything is composure, and he's delighted by honoring. So like if you wanted to spend 10 points to like meet with him, you know what I'm saying? He absolutely would like to see, you know, more Montaigne patrons in his casino. And he's very happy for a woman of her breeding and distinction to get like a free, like basically pass to the casino. Like there's normally like a 75 guilder like yearly fee.
Yeah,
And
she
he
was
just-
getting ready to pay it. But
Oh yeah, and he's like, oh no, please, we would be delighted to have you as a patron. We have just gotten in the most delicious cheese imaginable from, so and he like names where it is. He is like absolutely, I look up to Montaigne's snootiness in all things. Does that make sense? He name drops the fact that they have like some Fischler wine, or not Fischler. Oh crap, I just completely blanked on the name. Felici wines. Felici wines are like notorious because like aged Felici wines have been traded for small estates before. So like one bottle can fetch like 10,000 guilder sometimes. And he's saying that they have some on tap for like members to drink. It's probably,
Delightful.
there's probably a fee for that actually, because like even, you know, people throwing incredibly expensive parties are probably going to reserve it to like a select number.
Yeah.
But since Montaigne are considered like huge winemongers, it's like the first thing that he's happy to drop.
Oh, delightful. She's definitely, yeah, I think she has, 2 connections to spend, so she met Mr. Earhart, unfortunately. And she also apparently has made a connection with Mr. Hagelstoffer, and she definitely is, like, delighted to become a member of his casino, if he would like to have her.
Yeah. There are 2 other people that get introduced that I'm not going to have you spend points for. It's just kind of in the course of like making introductions. Ettore specifically oh, sorry, go ahead.
Where is Rosa? I don't want to leave Rosa out. Is Rosa back with us, or did she like run away into a corner to?
I believe she joined you.
breathe?
Like she's kind of doing some introductions and stuff like that.
Okay.
All right, so I'll give this introduction to the both of you. And actually, if you guys want to share your introductions, you can get introduced as a group. I mean, you're 2 incredibly beautiful women. Ettore is happy to be making introductions for both of you because there is no kind of street cred like rolling around with like 2 of the most beautiful women in the party at once. So,
True. Especially if
Yeah.
it's like,
and
especially
he's
if
not
they
above it.
favor each other.
So Ettore kind of like shares a look with Rosa. He says, I know a friend of yours would very much like to meet the 2 of these people. And then he introduces you to the Krauses, Carmela and Frederick.
name sounds familiar to player.
Yeah.
The two
Child
people Gav
hunters.
wants to beat the shit out of.
Oh no!
You just met the Briarwoods.
Oh
Do we
no!
know
They
them?
are the Briarwoods
Yeah,
are
do we
so
know
much
them?
cooler than them.
I
They're
know. Briarwoods were mid bosses.
Do we know?
Do
I
we
think
know them?
Ettore makes a point of like, I believe your friend Gab's very interested in meeting the two of these.
Yeah, Gav has definitely name dropped these two a few times.
Okay.
Okay.
Says, I would not mention Felix around them, and then makes the introduction after that. Does that make sense? They are like, do you know the people who like at any party they go to are too bored to be there? Like that's their whole deal.
Too bored to be there?
Like just like, oh, you know, the music is, it could be better. I've been to this and that,
Oh, I
which
hate those people.
like,
Yeah.
I don't have pictures for these people, but
That's perfectly
The
fine. They're
process.
probably just as boring as they
Um,
sound.
Yeah.
and like Carmela is kind of constantly like leaning against Friedrich and like wheedling at him to like take her somewhere like more entertaining, find something to do. There's like you know, and knowing the undertone of like these people hunt people, it's very gross. Does that make sense? Like you can tell Friedrich is very much into it for the sense of like it gives him a sense of manhood, but he's also just as into it because it's an on for Carmela. Does that make sense? Like their villainy is feeding one another.
Yeah.
There's a term that we have in Montaigne for that. She's like kind of murmuring to Espoir. She's like, the term we have in Montaigne for that is folie à deux.
You'll have to translate.
Folie à deux
Tori speaks. It's a cage of fools.
is like
Or-
double madness, basically. Like two people that like feed on each other's. Like if you think of like natural born killers kind of vibe.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and Tori kind of chuckles and he says, I don't think we have quite so clever a phrase in Vidachi. He says just that they deserve one another.
Sì, agreed.
Oh,
All right.
Rosa, he taught me the most delightful phrase. Here, come here. I'll whisper it to you. I don't remember what it means, but
And just immediately like a look of really, you're going to teach her that?
she's definitely trying to lighten the mood for Rosa, like, and put her a little more at ease. So she's definitely like, yeah, I learned a new thing. Check it out.
The big scissor's slowly coming out.
Okay, so you I was giving that one to you for free because it's like an ongoing plot line. But you now, I believe you each have 3 or what were your rolls?
I got a 20 something, so 25. So I only got
Okay.
2.
Oh, 25 and 45. And so Rose is going to get 4, or they can translate it to influence. I don't know if she likes anyone here well enough to want to have influence with them. She's like, this is not my scene. Okay.
The violin
So
guy.
do you just want,
Have influence with the violin guy.
she's like, there's not going to be a second date. Okay, so in general, do you want Ettore to introduce you to the people he thinks are the worst people here or the best people here?
Define worst.
Yeah.
Worst trash human beings, like most likely to be like in stuff, you know, whatnot.
Oh,
Like
so more
he can
criminal.
introduce you in the way of like people to watch out for. Does that make sense? Like dangerous people, etc., or people that he thinks are like, kind of worth knowing. Does that make sense? Now, Honorine has gotten the introduction to Franz, gotten the free membership in the casino.
Let's do best people.
Yeah, so I think
Okay.
she's just like, my aunt sent me here to eventually take suitors. So I really
He says, would you like to
prefer-
meet Greta Schuster? She's the city's matchmaker.
Yes. That would be wise, I think. And she kind of like...
He kind of like, you look lovely. Sniff check.
Rose is just like the thought of your whole life just meaning a suitor, like Rose's mind can't even go there.
The look on Rose's face is just like... It's like...
Like, what?
Greta is actually like charming. She is sort of like if she took Gertrude's sort of vibe, but was like using it for her own self-interest, not like an evil, like I'm doing bad things with it, just sort of like I have this knack for like meeting people and like, you know, getting the sense of them. She's taken Gertrude's whole like matchmaking vibe and like made a profession out of it. Does that make sense? Gertrude does for free for people who are not of the noble class, but this woman understands that like alliances are money. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And she understands that her role is kind of perpetuating that. Does that make sense? And she is delighted to meet Honorine, and like kind of once she gets like a sense of like her background, like basically it's like a verifying you have the nobility background kind of check. Does that make sense in the way of like the first conversation with her? Of like, oh, do you know so and so from Montaigne? You gotta
Here,
understand.
would you
When
like to see my pedigree?
Basically, it's the like social version
Patents of nobility.
of it. Does that make sense? You know, she knows the right names. She knows the names to drop. She might not have ever met those people personally, but that Honorine can fill in a personal detail about them is like really all the proof that she needs that she's a noble.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And she's just sort of delighted to like have a beautiful, fashionable young woman as a potential person to be parading around to some of like the wealthy men and nobility that are here in Freiburg.
I, the player, just like, no, But Honorine is delighted. She's 100% into it. Like, she's aware that there is a certain amount of responsibility to being a noble, along with the random like money that she gets and entree to circles and all that stuff. She's aware. So she's like, yes, you know, sign me up for some parties and some callers and you know, blah, blah, blah. But she phrases it a lot nicer. I'm very tired, so I'm not very good at phrasing things right now.
And Greta is happy to just sort of like make the introduction, like, I'll call upon you soon enough, but you know, she does kind of like, that gentleman over there, do not talk to him. Just like there's some immediate like, no, don't talk to them, no.
Don't bother with that
in
one.
a very polite, like upscale way. Does that make sense?
No, that's have you made his acquaintance? Good, because you don't need to.
Okay, so Ettore, Rose is looking for like some introductions of her own, right? Wilhelm does, by the way, get up and like play, and he has like, for the purposes of his violining, he does have like a 10K vibe on it. It's really good. He's really good at what he does. I'm gonna go ahead and do the roll, mostly because I don't think his heart is as in it as it could be.
His heart isn't in it? Does he want to be flirting with his lady?
62.
Whoa.
Like it's definitely like everybody stops during the time that he's performing. You know what I'm saying? He had one that like he kind of like brings it back home with the finale because he got one die that exploded to like a 28, where you can tell that like he forgets that he doesn't like it here. He forgets there's an audience. He forgets that he's like on display for these people and that he's not really a member of their group. He's just like a beautiful fountain or an artwork or something else that they can admire and you know what I'm saying? And he just like loses himself into the music for like the last sort of couple bars of it. And you see like a few of the people look like they're moved almost to tears by it as he kind of like winds it out. It's a very lonely violin solo.
But you can just tell that that's what he loves to do.
Yeah, he's deeply passionate about his music and everything else about it that
I've met
goes
guitar
along
players like
with
this.
it. Yeah, it's something he has to put up with to survive. But like, if he could just play for himself day and night, he probably would. But he has to
Whenever-
eat. But he has to eat.
Whenever he returns to Rosa, like, Honorine will just, like, thank you so much for the pleasure of that. It was beautiful.
Bellissimo,
Thank you.
signore.
This is, I'm happy and delighted. And like the kind of compliments that you're giving him, he seems to like genuinely appreciate. And he has a little bit of like he knows he's very good, but that doesn't mean he's super comfortable with like the flattery of it. Does that make sense? And so he's like, you know, kind of quickly like, have you had anything to eat yet? Can I get you something? Like turns it away almost as soon as he can. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, she'll take his hand and I guess go back into the party with it.
And Ettore kind of like, wait. I need to make an introduction to you. He says the most trouble one can get into without breaking many laws. And like the woman that's like next to him is like, Ettore, why do you have to introduce me? He says, this is Professor Angé Sontheimer. She is one of the professors at the Broutsman School. She teaches fencing, she teaches athleticism, she teaches scholarship, she teaches proper etiquette.
She sounds delightful.
And Angé is just sort of like, you know, she's like blushing and like whatnot. I want a quick wits and social perception on her.
From both of us?
What skills would work? Performer?
No, just noble. She's behaving properly at the moment.
At the moment.
Alright. That's just my wits then. 14.
Also, 20.
Okay. Honorine's gonna get it. Rose is gonna be oblivious.
Does that
Ettore and no, they have a shared taste in women, and Ettore loves to be her wingman. And he is definitely kind of like, this is Honorine, my date, and like Angé is definitely kind of doing like, oh, so lovely to meet you, like, and there's like just a little like subtext of like, nice pull.
Frozen misses this.
She
Honorine
forgets
needs
her
to fill
etiquette
her
for
in.
just a moment. She forgets her etiquette for just a moment, and she actually like kisses Honorine's hand instead of the appropriate curtsy. Does that make sense?
Oh.
She's like, if you'd ever like a fencing lesson, she says, I'd be delighted to see you down at Broutsman's.
Thank you. I'm so charmed to meet you. And Honorine is amused by this, like capital A, amused, and trying not to. She's trying to just sort of like play it off. She's trying not to like stick on that realization. This is my friend Rosa.
And Angé is like, I am so blessed to meet two so lovely women in a single night.
Grazie, signora.
Yeah, and she'll kiss Rose's hand as well.
Yeah, this is going right over Rose's head.
Which is adorable.
Isn't
she so pretty?
Angé is like very kind of like modest and demure, like her attractions and stuff. She's not like putting on public display. It's very much subtextual, but it's almost impossible for like Honorine to miss the woman has some very BDE. Like she knows what she's about.
Oh yeah.
Deep energy, but Okay. Let's see. We have what, 3 more introductions to do or 2 more for Rosa? No, 3 more.
Do we have 3 more?
She got a 45.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So, okay. Just for the sheer level of her influence, Lilith Spratt owns something like 20 shops in the Shadow, in the Philosopher's Stone area. She's probably the second wealthiest person here.
Okay.
And Ettore, introduces her by way of kind of like a bit of a reputation for like, if you're not making a profit, if you can't pay rent, you're gone. She encourages a certain like cutthroat competitiveness. But also has a soft spot for her brother, who has been running a failing hat shop for years and has never lost his shop. Let's see. Ettore will introduce to Joseph Masterson, who runs the largest art gallery in the city, but he also very much subtly makes it where, like, do not have anybody that you like as an artist be patroned by him. He cheats the artists. Like, he usually like gives their paintings for like a few guilder and then resells them for hundreds. And the last person I'm going to give as an introduction is just kind of more by virtue of like he introduces himself. He actually violates some of like the etiquette laws of it, because you can tell he has been watching both Rosa and Honorine like hawks all night, and he's finally had enough drink to just sort of like swagger up and introduce himself. His name is Janko Pfeiffer. He's tipsy, he's flirty, he's not subtle. And Ettore like very much knows how to handle it. You know what I'm saying? He kind of like, it's a very subtle like, oh, where's your second, my friend? And he's like, oh, I didn't have anyone. He's like, no, every man needs a second at a duel. Where's your second? And like the guy kind of like, I should get something to drink. He's like, perhaps something to eat. And it's just like, it's the first time you've really seen the edge come out of Ettore, like flash a little blade in his smile. Does that make sense? And like, you're this close to getting run through. And Vodacce men are kind of notorious for like, in Vodacce, there's the same laws as everywhere else against dueling that makes it illegal, and nobody enforces it because every Vodacce man is expected to like protect his own honor and the honor of his family. And it very much comes out like Big Brother vibe at the moment. Like Janko rolls up, like, these women right now are my date or my sister, whatever, but you're not talking. Rosa also notes that like it has been some time since Wilma disappeared to talk to Redmond, and she's not returned. Like Redmond has not returned either.
You to Honorine. I saw Senora Prost earlier. Have you gotten to meet her?
I don't believe I have.
Let me make introduction. Excuse me. And I guess we're gonna go find.
Okay. Ettore, comes along. There's a moment where like Angie kind of like starts to follow, and he's like, maybe something like that. But like,
this isn't that kind of exit, Angie. Just give it a.
Yeah, like
Honorine over his shoulder is like
to Anjay. Anjay just gives like a very wide smile and a wink.
Gonna do some fencing together.
Yeah, that's some fencing lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to worry about a chaperone with other women.
One of the trained guardsmen kind of like steps in the way of the hallway that like looks like they had disappeared down. You know what I'm saying? And he just kind of like brusquely like puts a hand on like Rose's shoulder and he's like, no one is permitted past. And there's a like and like Ettori's blade is out. And he's like, remove your hand. And like the guardsman is kind of like takes a step back. He's like, I am here to like Ettori just presses it. He's like, you have laid hands upon a woman without her consent. And you realize he's like angling himself so that they can get down the hallway while he's making a scene.
All right, let's go.
He says, I will accept your apology along with your blood. It says, but if you wish to duel to the death, you are welcome to. Who's staying? Who's stealthing?
Well, Honorine is like, I'll take care of this, you go.
Okay.
I do need a stealth roll from you. You can use your criminal knack and your finesse. I will let you actually use your wits to do your best to just sort of look like you wandered off in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go pee.
I need someone to help me.
Nose powdering mission.
27.
Okay. You get down the hallway, you kind of duck around a corner, you can hear voices talking. You can hear Redmond and Wilma. Redmond says, I'm uncertain. He says, I have never put forward a business proposition to the administration hall. What deal is it that you're referencing? And Wilma's voice has just a strange edge to it as she answers. You still recognize Wilma's voice, but there's something off about it. And she says, I am talking about the bargain that you have seeked to struck. She says, I'm not here about your petty business dealings. For months you have been trying to attract our attention. You have it. What is it you seek to bargain for? And there's just like a sort of dead silence from Redmond. He says, the oath makers attracted you. It says it worked. And the not Wilma, she says, congratulations, you're catching up. She says, all of your wealth, all your power, none of it means a thing after your death, but your blood, that can be infused with something more, that can be passed on to another. That is power that never disappears. It only grows stronger with every passing generation. That is what you contacted us for. That is what you seek. And he nods. And she says, I ask you what you will give for it. And Redmond says, I have wealth, I have land, I have lives aplenty that I would sacrifice. She says, I am offering you the power to destroy with but a touch. Says to end a life, to shatter a wall, to bring a city to its knees. She says, and you think I wish for real estate? She's kind of, there's a laugh. She says, you're not wrong. There is real estate I wish for. She says, I want the Wachtturm. He says, the face you're wearing, you could have it. And she says, I'm aware, but there will be questions. Says, the one whose face I'm wearing still walks for now. Says, I need to make sure when she disappears, no one ever grows wiser to it. And I believe that you have the affluence to do that. Accomplish that, and then we can discuss a bargain. And he's like, then we can discuss a bargain. You're asking me to murder the administrator of the city. He says, I'm going to need more than just a promise we can bargain in the future. She says, that is the price of getting my attention. Says, if you are serious about it, I will know when her head hits the floor.
I'm so mad I stayed behind right now.
I just realized I was holding my breath. Holy shit. Yeah, Rose's. Oh god. Yeah, okay, I'm using. I want to see what this thing is. I don't know how.
There's
I
a
know
what-
footstep, and you realize that Wilma is heading for the door that's going to be right by where you're standing. You have the choice to either get the fuck out of here or stay and get a glimpse of her.
Hide.
Yeah, I need to hide. I need to hide, and if I catch a glimpse of her, I'm gonna use Arcana.
If I will let you make another stealth roll. This is just using the criminal knack. There's no social blending in for this. You're trying to get out of line of sight.
So
So
it'd be finesse plus criminal.
and bear in mind, you can spend drama dice. If you get over 30, I will give you a vantage place where you can look at her without her seeing.
Yeah, I'll use one of my drop die. So that means it's 4. Keep 2.
This is a finesse roll.
Yeah.
So
keep
if
2.
you do a drama die, no, it's keep 3. Because if with
Okay.
a drama die, you get an extra 1k1. So
4, keep 3. 22.
no. Okay, so I will give you the choice. Safety or look.
Go for the look.
Safety. Don't listen to Honorine. She'll lead you astray. She tried to break up the meet cute.
We can get you out of whatever.
If the character's going saying look. And I feel like it's such a bad idea. Oh my god.
Go ahead, and are you rolling? Yeah, it's roll your Arcana
Which is
Oh, raid.
Holy shit!
with your resolve.
resolve plus Arcana, that's right. And keep my resolve. $24. I exploded on 1 die.
Okay. So, you see Wilma Probst's Arcana, like you've seen her Arcana before. It's like, for one thing, you could see her will in her Arcana alone. Does that make sense? The incredible strength of her mind, of her character. That is not the Arcana of the person that you look at. Instead, the design on it is like, it reminds you of a tarot card, but it is so foreign and insectoid, you have no ability to make out what it means. It's like looking at a tarot in another language. Does that make sense? Except it's like a pictograph form, but like the entire language of what you would be seeing is something else. Does that make sense? You can't tell if that's a chariot. You can't tell if that's like a hierophant. And the moment you see the Arcana kind of flare over them, her head snaps directly towards where you're looking, as if she felt Sorte touching her. And there is just a heartbeat where you see her eyes blink and then blink sideways with a second pair of lenses. And then you would kind of like duck behind a doorway and like peeked out behind it. And her fist goes through the wall, just completely through 2 levels of drywall, and grabs her back and like pulls you through the wall into the hallway.
Yeah, Rose is screaming. Full on like bloody murder screaming.
Honorine, I don't know what's going on with the distraction, but she's gonna run at that scream.
Okay. The Itori is like kind of like caught in the duel. I'm just gonna kind of like quickly narrate that. Like, he is having a duel to the first blood, right? That's how like honorable matters are resolved, etc.
Sorry, Itori, I gotta go.
The guy. He's been playing with like the man for like 3 rounds. Does that make sense? Like, not letting him hit, almost getting him in response, letting it go on as long as possible because everybody's eyes are on it. Does that make sense? And then he hears a scream, and it's just like and he cuts the guy's cheek, and it happens so fast that like it's very clear he could have done that at any point in the duel. Does that make sense? And he's like, "Are we resolved, or would you like one through your throat?" And the guard kind of like, just sort of like staggers back and like drops his blade, and Tori turns and is chasing after you. The Redmond is kind of like, he is appearing next to the woman and like staring down at Rosa. He's like, "What did she hear?" And Wilma says, "Clearly too much," as Honorine and Itori come running.
And Rose at this point, panicking, is going to start speaking straight Badachi. And start saying something to the effect of, in her best, like, broken Eisen. "No, speak very little Eisen. Very, very little Eisen."
What does Honorine come up on? Like, is she coming up on Rosa being yanked through drywall, or what?
There's a hole in the wall. There is drywall on Rosa's dress. Does that make sense? Part of the dress has been like ripped open, the whole corset thing. Like, at this point, those threads have snapped. Like, she's not spilling out or anything like that, but like the yank was hard enough to tear her dress. And Wilma is like holding her, standing over her, and Redmond is behind, along with like one of his guards.
Get your hands off her now.
And the
I'm trying not to overload you, Sioso, with input.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying to, like, there's multiple people that are present at this. You know what I'm saying? Itori, has his blade already out. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's clearly like ready to go. And you can see the other guard in response is like immediately drawing. And the Redmond is kind of like looking between the 3 of them, and there's a part of me, like, I'm not gonna like quite roll it, but like, you can tell that he's gauging if it's worth it to just kill all 3 of you, or if it'll get out, or does that make sense? Like, it's just a matter of like the equation. Does that make sense? Wilma reaches down and puts her hand on Rosa's throat. And I will give you a roll, to try to like pull away from it as you realize that like her solution, the very cold solution that Wilma is about to do is to crush Rose's voice box.
She's not fireproof, is she?
Is she about to find out if she's fireproof?
Are we about to find out?
Go ahead and make a roll.
I'm gonna give Rosa her roll
Wait.
first.
That's brawn, right? That's straight brawn.
I will allow a finesse roll and any kind of grappling or whatnot that you might have to slip out of it. You may also spend drama dice on this. You're rolling against a target number. Okay.
Cause bitch, I just bought out fire starting.
Okay, so 3. Keep
We're so
3. I'm
good
gonna
at
go with it.
With the hunted background.
We're
Let's do
just
some
gonna
fire
lead
starting
into it.
at the party with
56! I got
Holy
What?
Triple
Holy-
explosion.
That is insane.
Rosa,
They're
Rosa is like, not my singing voice.
One explosion
God,
more
drop
on any of
button.
those other ones, and
That's the
God.
safest triple explosion you could ever have. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
holy shit.
That is amazing. I'm gonna give you a drama die for that, actually.
Yes!
That was a sick
That's
dodge.
unprecedented. Okay, you just sort of like twist. Just so you know, this Wilma has a brawn of 6, and I had set the target number for that to get away from her grip as a 35.
This is friggin' Black Widow Rosa here.
And Rosa just
The corset
Like-
popped and she was like, not today.
Frida. Yeah, Rosa just straight leaps out of the dress. Like, you can get it.
It's like mountain climbers who, like, when they get like a hit of fresh oxygen, just like, holy shit.
I can breathe.
Rosa.
Oh,
Okay. So
Oh my
we're in our last 8 minutes. So is it okay if I just kind of narrate? Honorine, I'm assuming, is just trying to light some people on fire and make an escape, right?
I mean, I was going to let Rosa roll first, and that's why I said let her make her roll. So like, Honorine is getting ready to, but I guess probably is not following through.
Well, like you see
catch
Wilma
Rosa.
looks first surprised that like Rosa manages to twist and sort of leap away. Like you brace off of the woman and kind of jump backwards. Does that make sense? And get to like the feet of like Honorine and Ettore. So if Honorine is using her abilities to kind of screen their escape, there are torches and like lanterns and things like that she can expand to like cover their withdrawal.
Yes, 100%. So that would be, well, so would that be like feed?
Yeah, let's do that as a roll along with her resolve.
The only thing that's getting out of Rose's mouth, it is Invadachi, but it's that's not
Shit.
Wilma Prost.
I'm
'Cause,
gonna.
oh my god.
Can I spend one of my raise? It's not a social raise, is it? Like, I can't spend a raise on here, can I?
No, this is not a social roll.
Drop a die.
Drama die.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop a drop that thing. Hang on. So we're gonna do drama die. So we're gonna do it's resolve. You said.
Mm-hmm.
$21. I hate that roll. I hate that so much. So she
After
is
all the
using...
explosions tonight,
I know. I was hoping for some of them. This child is meowing up a storm behind me too. He's so hungry.
I can just hear it now.
Yep.
Yeah, so Mundavi, like he thrusts a hand out to like help pull Rosa up as like flames sort of explode out of the lantern. You see just the sort of like shadow of like the two figures behind, and like Wilma steps through, her skin unburned but her dress burning, and Ittori, his eyes like widen, and he like Anjay, remember Lorendia, and just sort of like. And you hear Anjay like from a ways behind, like, "Are you shitting me?"
Oh, this is that relationship. Oh my god.
At the party.
It's nothing like Budapest.
And there's and like as Wilma comes kind of like barreling down the hallway, you hear Anjay like duck, and he throws himself like against Honorine and kind of like pins her against the wall, like doing the same with Rosa. As Anjay, like two pistols come out at once that you had no idea where they were. She like plants both of the shots into Wilma and sees the woman stagger but not stop.
Oh fuck.
And he says, "Did I say Lorentia? I meant Rosario." Anjay's like, and Anjay just gives him a look of like, "Oh fuck you," right? And she just like throws herself through a window into the outside and like rolls up like from the glass and kind of like washes it off and like points the empty pistol, but like nobody really knows better. And one of the coachmen is like, "Sir, I will need your horse." And so we're going to exit with like the group sort of like riding away in haste.
I would like to marry this woman.
I saw her first.
She has like two horses a moment later that she has absolutely stolen from some of the wealthiest nobles in the city. And Ittori like boosts Honorine up to like one of the saddles. Anjay like helps Rosa up onto the other, and like Ittori just kind of like whispers to Honorine like, "So you know, I will be going for a good night kiss tonight," and then like reins the horses into like a full gallop down the street. And that's where we're gonna drop the curtain tonight.
Fuck!
I found the D&D characters that snuck into our campaign.
Yeah. Holy.
I'm just gonna take a look at the scary doppelganger. Nothing's gonna go wrong.
Ooh.
Rosa's been listening to magic too much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
But rolled like Itikus, thank God.
56 is insane.
That is crazy.
Runa's not gonna have to harm anyone.
Yet.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
at some point.
So
Son of the party.
for our raiders who are just tuning in, we have a thing at the end of every game where the players will nominate two of their own for like just really memorable moments that they loved. They get a bonus XP because of that. We frequently
Rosa.
go late, but tonight I have a 5 a.m. flight in the morning, so I'm going to be getting out of here soon. So,
Rosa.
I feel like Len gets one for the
Len.
be careful,
Len.
she's a sculptor.
Yeah, Len.
That's good.
That was fantastic.
Len's accidental infamy is really funny.
Now that is Freiberg's ass.
Yeah.
I am absolutely stealing that later.
Oh,
nice.
Yes.
There's a Len doing a thinker statue out there somewhere now.
Len and
Yeah,
Rosa.
It's just caked up. Yeah, I
Caked
guess.
up thinker,
People
just
keep
like-
putting quarters in it like the Mothman statue.
Oasis. Len.
It's like that one statue of the lady where like the cleanest part is the boobs. It's just like the part of the statue that's pristine is Len's ass cheeks.
Yeah, so
All
Rosa
right.
and Len are my nominations.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Rosa for like
100%.
getting out of
Rosa
getting
for
out of a
just being
situation
amazing.
with sheer luck. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I would like
pretty
a
good.
retroactive roll. I'm not going to change this. I want you to roll all of your swords dice.
Oh fuck.
Oh wait, I have 2 cursed swords die. I totally.
Yeah, we didn't. They would have affected that. So let's go ahead and roll them now.
Okay, how do I do this?
You just
The
roll
first
them as
one.
d10s.
Okay,
So
so
in
2
game,
D10s?
how they would normally work is they would detract from the roll. I'm going to So here's the thing: if they would bring your roll under a 35, we've already kind of
6.
rolled that all out.
I got a 6.
Okay. No, they're individual die. So like 1 in 5, they would be a 6 total on this. So it'd just bring you down to a 50, which is fine. But I also wanted to know if they rolled a 10 because they would have disappeared. Does that make sense?
Oh.
They would cease to be cursed dice.
Okay.
It just brings you down to 50. You're fine.
It's still
Yes, you still escaped. Your dress is a little bit more wrecked than it was. You have, like Anjay's arm wrapped around your waist. Ettore has the same.
the player's not bad.
Anjay's like, my apologies to your violinist friend.
This interaction has given me major FOMO because that woman.
Yeah, but it's really good that we have had this whole other group to see the actual Wilma Probst and interact with her and everything.
Yeah, that's what we needed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was a
Plus we
very
helped with
specific reason I wanted to do both at once,
Yeah.
and that was why.
That makes sense. And we got to play a little matchmaker with Gav and
And you also got to catch
Little Mouse and
the actual Wilma up on like what was going on and stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's to our benefit.
I'm glad that one of us got to.
Oh.
Yeah,
Matchmaker,
led Kool-Aid Man
matchmaker,
right into that
make me a
conversation.
match. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, giant snakes.
Giant snakes and scary man.
to our audience, I just want to give a shout out. 13 and a half hour like one shot. That's amazing.
That is
Mad props on that.
That's an
Thank you for
endurance
coming and
run.
joining us. And I'm sorry that it was like right at the end of our stream, but we're very flattered to have you here. I hope you enjoyed. The next Shadow of the Wachtturm is next Sunday. If you're interested, please tune in. If you want to catch up on the past 15 episodes of Shadow of the Wachtturm, they are all up on YouTube. Yeah, we're on 16. Isn't that crazy?
It's awesome.
Nice.
There's also a tradition here at Dirty 20 that whenever we close out, we all understand that it is a crazy world that we live in, sometimes very scary. And at times in an unkind world, kindness and niceness are radical acts. So if you can't be kind, be nice, upset the status quo. And we'll see you next Sunday. So thank you, everybody.
Good night.